Hello there. Does anyone out there have a clue what the Tory vision for this country is? Because I certainly don't. Well, actually, I do have an inkling of what the Tory vision for this country is, and summed up, it concerns not doing what the people want, all hinging on controlling our lives to the nth degree while not controlling our borders and national finances. The only finances the Tories are looking after are their own and those of their rich donors. And further, they're not controlling those that are intent on making our lives more miserable. I'm looking at the eco-loon types. They pass the laws in time to clear the streets for the coronation, then it's straight back to business as usual. Almost as if the government and eco-loons are working hand in glove to ensure net zero steamrollers us all while applying double standards across the board. Ne'er-do-wells can do as they please, but don't you dare to try and defend yourself or your property. And in the eyes of the blob, crime now only exists in the heads of free-thinking people. And as for free speech, they've overseen the creation of a one-way cancel culture that now exists on an industrial scale, with people losing their livelihoods for expressing perfectly reasonable and, importantly, perfectly legal opinions. The crime is not to express those views, the real crime is the cancelling of those views. But it's almost as if they've purposefully turned the moral compass upside down and turned the destruction of the UK from an SNP, Sinn Féin and Plaid Cymru dream almost into a reality. The vast majority of the UK population do not agree with any of this. In fact, I would say they vehemently oppose it. But this modern and insidious form of social control now has people self-censoring in order to avoid confrontation with the squealing minority. A squealing minority that sense a communist-based victory is in the offing. But then look at the other major parties. They don't have a vision for the UK either, not their own. It's basically exactly the same as the Tories one, but on steroids. And now we hear talk about the Lib Dems getting into bed with Labour to ensure the Tories are defeated. Great for the politicians involved and their ardent supporters, but whichever of these main parties get into power, it will be a disaster for the ordinary people in the UK. Because in truth, those that control the Westminster establishment blob do have a vision, but it's not one they will ever share with the likes of us, because we would not like their vision for us. But as they work towards it, the blob's vision has to become a physical manifestation. And that's when the penny starts to drop for most people. And that's when the likes of tax-gathering traffic cameras and facial recognition police cameras are put in place, together with all the signs placing more restrictions on your travel. When people start seeing their councils seemingly working in unison across the country on local projects, like the ULEZ schemes, that should be decided at a local level, but bear all the hallmarks of central control and central money. And at some point, for the blob to gain full control, it will have to push the economy into a place where they can abolish cash and force everyone to use a social credit score controlled central bank digital currency, where your every purchase will be monitored and subject to the approval of an AI bot, where taxes will be taken at a whim and automatic artificial intelligence-generated fines will proliferate for all manner of crimes against the new normal, where supranational organisations are more and more allowed to encroach into direct national decision-making, along the lines of the UN's WHO and the about-to-be-agreed Health Emergency Treaty. And I gather there's talk that the World Trade Organization will be used to enforce those global rules through trade embargoes against any nations that do not toe the line. And ordinary people will be microscopically controlled. This is the real vision that our lords and masters have. It sounds global and dystopian, but look around you, we're halfway there already. Brexit was just a minor hiccup to these people, with Sunak and now Starmer ready to make sure it no longer poses any problem. Now, what happened to those weather heat maps we were shown every day, when we would be informed that today is the hottest whatever date on record? Where have they disappeared to? Now, I know it's not summer, but surely with all this climate change we constantly have forced down our throats, surely we've had days in December, January, February, March, April and now May that have had the highest temperatures since records began. Surely one of those months has been the warmest of those months since time began. Surely. So why aren't we being told about it? Unless there are no record-breaking high temperatures at the moment, of course. Because I'm sure that if there were, all the eco-protesters and eco-celebs would be telling us about it, and telling us off about it, constantly. But they won't berate the likes of China about it, will they? You know, the ones building all the coal-fired power stations. And I don't hear them having a go at the Germans for tearing down a village and wind turbines to get at some more coal. Or if they are, the Chinese and German governments are taking no nonsense from them. But the UK government does take all that ecomania nonsense and gold plates it. Labour will do the same, but with thicker gold plating. Right now, oil and gas production looks set to shut down very quickly in the North Sea. UK energy security is now at a real crossroads. And it looks like the no-entry signs are covering all options except a complete North Sea shutdown. Shell pulled out of the North Sea Cambo project in 2021, leaving many to fear that was the end of new big investments there and the start of thousands of job losses. But since then, we've seen the Tory government, urged on by the opposition parties and eco-campaigners, slap a whopping great windfall tax on the oil producers that takes their tax rate to 75%. And Labour said it would go even further. Not only that, the SNP and Greens in Scotland are now operating a hostile environment against new North Sea oil and gas developments. 2024 will therefore start the shutdown. So it's no surprise to hear a few days ago that Harbour Energy, the North Sea's largest producer, is scaling back operations and will shed 350 jobs in the process. The company says that its profits dropped from 2.2 billion quid to just 7 million last year due to the windfall tax. And it seems they are looking to expand their operations in Mexico and Indonesia. Our loss is therefore to the gain of others. The UK, the most green and bankrupt country on earth, is where we'll end up at this rate, while buying coal and oil and gas in from other countries instead of using our own. Now, the results of a recent Survation poll for True North indicate that 75% of people in Scotland believe that the nation's energy needs should be met by domestic production, not buying it in from abroad. And 61% said that it boosts the UK economy to have oil and gas companies working in the North Sea. But do you think anyone in power is listening to ordinary voters anymore? No, they're not. They have plans, and ordinary people do not feature in them. Richard.
Listen to me now, and listen to me very carefully. Relying on politicians to rush to our aid might not be the answer, and I so wish I could believe that it is possible to beat the establishment by playing by their rules, rules which they wrote in the first place. But I am sorry, I believe the deep state is too deep, and the system is purely designed to protect the establishment. But there is a way out. If you want a way out of this life where you are a slave to the wage, there is a way out. So listen up. So many times I've read your comments saying, Jeff and Richard, you're all mouth and no trousers. If this society and system is dissolved, what would you replace it with? Well, actually, that is such a great question, and it cuts to the heart of the matter. Take away our societal structures. What do you have left? Anarchy? Is that something to be so frightened of? But anyway, that's another video for another day. You see, people are frightened of personal responsibility, having to do things for themselves because we have become psychologically dependent upon the state and the system. But there are people here in Britain living lives off-grid, self-sufficient, healthy, happy, and living enriched lives. People who are, to the larger part, free. Do you think you are free? Well, if you have stumbled across this video, you probably know that you are not free and are living in an illusion of freedom. And you and I have to work every day just to be able to afford to put a roof over our heads, feed our families and heat our homes. But it really doesn't have to be like that. For many years, I've been following the groundbreaking work taking place at the Lammas project in Pembrokeshire. Now, I might not agree with the entire ethos of the place. It's a bit pagan-y for me. But they have proven to the world that it is possible to have a modern standard of living, greener than any concept of the World Economic Forum and net zero zealots. And they do it cheaply, with little reliance on the outside world. For the same price as a deposit on an average house, they're able to build an incredibly energy efficient and aesthetically beautiful character house out of materials taken from the land using local materials, I hasten to add. I mean, for less than £30,000, you can have an extremely energy efficient, beautiful house with land that will sustain you in food and water. Did you know that? Did you know £30,000 you can have something quite remarkable? All that is required is rainfall collection and communal managed woodland, and you have it all. Shelter, warmth, food grown in a permaculture environment, and water. You just need some sort of self-generated electricity and you are officially off-grid. Oh, and land is set to permaculture as opposed to agriculture, which therefore the permaculture land is going to be more efficient. We know this. It produces a much higher crop and livestock yield with a carbon non-existent footprint, if you're worried about these things like carbon footprints and all that. So why are the powers that be not interested in promoting such green models? Why have most of you never heard of low-impact living, which clearly ticks all the boxes of preventing climate change, if you believe in such things? What's going on? Why is it that the powers that be want us to live in cities, large towns, and out of the countryside? They will have their country, homes and bolt holes and stately homes, but we expect to give up sort of living next to the land in country living. This is exactly the same scenario that our forebearers found themselves in hundreds of years ago, when they were unceremoniously kicked off the land so large landowners could profit from industrial scale farming. I find the whole thing very odd. The romanticised view of the Merry England, the medieval Merry England, or Merry Wales, Merry Scotland and Ireland, it could be a reality. It really could. In fact, it could be better than in days long ago, because we have modern understanding of the world and technology know-how to improve our environment and insulate ourselves from a bad crop year. And another thing, organic produce, spending time in nature, working the land, has one side effect. that is obvious. Health benefits from not eating processed rubbish, which is probably the biggest contributor to severe disease that we know of. So there is an alternative way of life, and I'm not talking about some kind of pagan, hippie, dippy thing. I'm talking about this is practical. That means you live a much more stress-free life, fulfilling life with little to no debts and all the amenities you need to survive, and in fact, to thrive. And you probably don't even know about it. Look up Lammas in Pembrokeshire. Lammas, Pembrokeshire, okay? Look up the pioneer, Tory, who is an expert in alternative housing that is cheap as chips to build. Look at Simon Dale's beautiful Hobbit house that he built a few years ago for £3,000. Yes, I say £3,000. Rewind this video when you've finished watching and make note of those people. Now, this is the fun part. It's not only cheap to buy agricultural land, well, cheaper than buying a building plot, but there are laws in Wales that allow you to build a low-impact house on agricultural land. I'm not sure about England, Scotland and Northern Ireland, and I'll get back to this point in a minute. But to progress further in getting to your little, your tiny little low-impact community, first of all, you need to get a community of like-minded people to begin with. And you need to contact people who can teach you the skills you need to build your low-impact homes and establish land for permaculture. It's all up to you. And if somehow a nationwide community of like-minded people were awoken to an alternative low-impact way of life and ready to move back onto the land en masse and be prepared to defend their newly acquired land, I wonder what the powers that be would be able to do about it. There will always be a large proportion of people who want to live in large towns and cities, who are mesmerized by the trappings of modern life and cannot conceptualize existence outside of it. And let them live in cities, let them have their large towns and their debt. Let the people of the land help feed and trade with the people of the cities. Whilst we have all been set against each other with concepts of tradition and nationhood, we have forgotten that our forefathers were not as concerned about such delineations and more interested in their communities and counties. Don't waste your time swearing allegiance to the United Kingdom and to the individual countries that is the United Kingdom is comprised of. Think about allegiance to those that matter in your community and to the community itself, and make that community work and provide the real security you need. These isles will always be Britain or Albion. We can show the rest of the world that Great Britain is more than the governments that rule it. It is the people that make this land great. This is personal responsibility if you want it. So it's up to you to form such communities. So reach out to like-minded people. Begin the journey to freedom. Or you can stay as you are and wait for somebody else to sort your lives out. But I wouldn't hold my breath on that. And yes, there will be some of those who will make communities that will be at odds with what we will call traditional British values. But they will bear the fruit and will rot on the vine and disappear as they find they have to work to sustain themselves. But there is hope. Now, don't bang out just yet. Jeff and I need you all to do something, and that is to pop back every day at the usual time to this channel, because the ghost in the machine and the establishment is against us. We try to aim for the same time every day, but research, writing and editing gets in the way. This is a full-time job, 7 days a week, and it is very time-consuming, so please bear with us. Anyway, what do you lot think about what has been said in today's video? Leave your creamy pearls of wisdom in the comment section below, and we will see you again tomorrow at 5:45. 5:45. And before I say 5:45 again, we have some interesting new mugs in the shop bit below in the comments section area. Yeah, okay. 5:45.